Welcome everyone to this week's Markets and Matchups. Today we've got James Whelan joining us.
Hello. Yep, straight off the substitution bench and filling in for an injured player. Scarlet's going to be back on deck next week, fully rested and ready to go.
Okay, so into the markets. The main themes are continuing tariff uncertainty, inflation and interest rates, and growth versus defensive stocks. Trump's comments on tariffs, particularly regarding automobile imports, caused volatility in both stocks and commodities. Investors reacted with shifts between US government securities and equities, and commodities like copper surged in anticipation of potential US tariffs. We've also seen gold continue to rise consistently, hitting record highs over the last week. In both the US and Australia, growth sectors such as technology, energy, and consumer discretionary outperformed defensive sectors like utilities and healthcare over the last week. This reflects optimism around economic recovery despite concerns over the inflation and tariffs. Rising inflation expectations in the US and potential rate cuts indicated by the Fed are key themes in the United States. The US markets responded to both the drop in consumer confidence and the Fed's stance on interest rates. The Magnificent Seven stocks, in particular Apple and Tesla, have lifted the NASDAQ over the last week. Tesla jumped 11.9% on Tuesday after Trump's tariff news, up 24% over the last 5 days. Locally in Australia, the focus has been on CPI data and potential rate cuts by the Reserve Bank of Australia. These key moves highlight the mixed market conditions driven by inflation concerns, tariff risks, and sector rotations, with commodities like gold and copper standing out as notable performers.
Quick reminder, don't forget to get your footy tips in for the BPC tipping comp. Bragging rights are on the line for a big one very early in the season, so lots of chances to take back first place. The round started off with what I reckon was probably not only one of the better games of the year, but also I think it answered a lot of questions that were being asked about Penrith.
Yeah.
Going for 5 in a row. What do you reckon? That was Storm 30 over the Penrith Panthers at 24.
Yeah, I agree. Look, they were down in Melbourne, so it's tough to get a gauge on that. But definitely, I mean, Storm are looking so strong, as always, though.
Storm at home is usually a tough battle to go with. I think that Penrith were a little bit flimsy, I've got to say. And I think that they've been seen as being fallible, which is a really interesting thing for other teams now going against them for the rest of the season, of exactly what they've got ahead of them. First off, I mean, the fact that Penrith can't seem to get it, I don't want to say get it together, but they don't have their home stadium this year. And so they're away at Combank against the Roosters, and they went down there. They came back, went down against the Storm down at AAMI. They're not the 5 in a row team anymore, are they?
It's a big question, James.
They're still early in the season.
I'm not writing off Penrith, but they did lose Cleary early, and they didn't have Dylan Edwards.
Yeah, and they're two key guys as well. That being said, I really don't think that Melbourne really put it away either, the way that they should have, based on what it is they had in front of them, and winning by a try. And Penrith looked all money to be able to potentially come back into that and send it into Golden Point.
Yeah.
So it wasn't completely done. Both of those teams, I think, are beatable on their day, one more than other. But it does mean that the top 4 spots are definitely going to be open for the rest of the year. And the end, I don't think, is determined, especially with some of the other games that we've seen come through.
Yeah,
and the strength of some of these other ones. Like, how about those Wires?
How about those Wires?
You want to walk us through it? Because I'm sure that you saw it.
Yeah, definitely. Look, to be honest, the Roosters probably blew a few chances to win. I thought their strike play was a lot better. The Wires just, I don't know, we seem to come out on top at home. We like to perform at home.
When you turn something on, it was the early game on Friday, wasn't it? And you turn it on and you're just like, this is an absolute belter. They were absolutely beating each other up. They were going at it, and the Wires just seemed to want to get it done. That's a team with a lot of heart.
A lot of mana, we call it, James.
What is it?
Mana.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love learning stuff from you.
Yeah, you'll learn. Scarlet's learning too.
You've got a lot of mana as well.
Yeah, thank you.
You do, man. I've said it's okay, and it's good to see. And I think that comes across with the conversations that we have with what it is that we do. Speaking of a lot of mana, how about those Tigers? Wasn't that a game? Wasn't that an absolute game to just make everything about? Yeah, I think it was that Saturday afternoon.
It was a bit of a comeback too, wasn't it?
They came back and they were down at the half. when usually you'd think that's going to be heads dropped, 3 spoons in a row. Great, we're on track for another beating. It's the Dolphins that you, me, and a couple of mates could probably have a good run against them.
Yeah, I reckon.
Hello, if you're watching.
Yeah. They
very beatable
I don't know.
team.
They just don't put a full game together.
Yep. Anyway, so the Tigers came out and just put it away.
Yeah, they did. But
And-
just the Tigers.
What amazed me is that I've spent the last couple of years, especially last year, really closely watching the Tigers as being part of what I'm doing here at Barclay Pierce, was their inability to put a try away when they're 10 out, 15 out, 20 out, and just being camped in the opposition in the opposition side with the try line literally a spitting distance away and not being able to put it away. That's all gone now. And the go through the list of people that you can now put the ball to and actually be able to put the ball over the line.
Isn't he Penrith?
Hey,
Isn't he?
was Penrith, mate. He's all Tigers now. So I think the Tigers scraped it off, and they've very much put the wooden spoon in the FedEx envelope. Send it courtesy of courtesy of the team here at Barclay Pierce. Congratulations, Parramatta. It's all yours. You can have it for this year. It's going to be. That's how that goes. Who have you got for the spoon favourites?
Look, the Eels and Dolphins are kind of they're swimming their way closer to it.
Fins down for you on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Okay, so what have we got coming up this week?
Let's go off the back of those last two games.
Yep.
Tigers and Warriors.
Yep.
I got to stay close to my roots. What are the stats?
What roots are they, Mana boy?
Mate, I'm all Warriors, but
I do like those ones.
What are these stats, James? I know you want to share them.
Yeah, I had some other bits and pieces sort of copied out here as I did, and it doesn't sign well for them. I've been to games at Campbelltown, and as much as I'm a Tigers fan, going to Campbelltown is hard. Going to Campbelltown is almost the hardest thing for the Tigers themselves to do, so that can be a little bit of trouble for them. The stats don't speak for that as well. The Warriors have won 7 straight games against the Tigers, which absolutely gives them the edge. Games that the Tigers just don't seem to be able to have the ability to put it away at Campbelltown. If it was at Leichhardt, this would be an entirely different conversation.
Oh, but cool.
It's just there's a curse on that field, my friend. There is an absolute curse.
The Warriors got to
field.
come from New Zealand, and you're still. Are you saying you're backing the Warriors?
Yeah, you know what I am. I'm going to back the Warriors, and I'm happy to be wrong if this happens. And my apologies to the Tigers. It turns out that my tip doesn't change whether they can win or lose.
The rest of the office too.
Okay,
We got Robbie sitting out there. Do you want to go tell him?
let's not do that. But no. Look, you got to go with it. They don't know what happens on the field, and although I think that my tip does get sent to them, I do apologise for that. I've got to get a tattoo if the Tigers finish in the top 8. And they're now sitting in second place on the table.
So okay.
So
and
you
do you
can
want
sort of
this?
see
Do you
where
want
I'm
this
at.
tattoo, or are you rooting against him?
Well, I want them to get in the top 8, but I don't really like the idea of getting a tattoo, and so now I've got to do it. Chris Lawrence is actually picking the location and the size of the tattoo. So Tigers legend is going to be picking that for us. All right, what else we got here coming up? This what's your key game, Chris? What have you got for us?
Outside of the Wars, of course.
Outside of the Wise Tigers, which we can continue to talk about.
St. George Storm.
Yep, versus the Storm. Now that's at Cogra. How have the Dragons? I've got here that the Dragons have historically played well against the Storm.
Yeah, traditionally they do, especially at home.
Now, like I was just saying, that the Storm is a very beatable team. Could this be it?
You want to? You going to put that out as a tip?
I'm just saying that the Storm is without Jerome Hughes and Nick Meaney.
Yeah. Okay.
And Nelson Asofa Solomana is also sidelined. The home underdogs are okay to go. The Dragons are strong coming off a loss. I think that if you're behind in the tipping comp this week and you want to try and get yourself up a few points and you think it's an all or nothing situation, I'd probably throw the dice at this one and go the Dragons at home against the Storm, and like I said, the Storm are missing some players. They're away at Cogra. There's a good record that's right there. All right, we're going to head to what I believe is Shark Park, where they take on the very beatable Sharks, takes on the pretty infallible Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. What are your thoughts on that one?
Bulldogs are playing well. I don't mind backing the Bulldogs down there. I don't know. It could go either way, to be honest.
Yeah, it can go either way. The Sharks failed to finish off against the Bunnies last week and look quite vulnerable. I think the Bulldogs are playing a lot better than a lot of people gave them credit for this year, and I think that they're a real chance. Happy to, you know what? Cronulla at home, though. Just it's just one of those
Calling
things.
it, okay.
I know. I'll take Cronulla at home for this one. I think that they've just got something to prove. If they've conceded what they've conceded, and they come back the next week and actually get a win, and we'll see how we go on that one. But that's where I'm standing at this particular time to take Cronulla at home against the Bulldogs.
Cool. I'll go against you. I'll go Bulldogs.
Done. No worries at all. I'll see you on the screens, pretty boy.
The tipping comp leaderboard, we have our top three. Number one, Tipster 1. He's on 19 points. Our very own Michael Jeffrey
Hey.
is on 19 as well. And Fort Worth, number 3.
Well, that's it for this week's markets and matchups. Don't forget to get your footy tips in as soon as you can. Tip early and tip often for the BPC footy tipping comp. As mentioned, there is still lots of prizes up for grabs and also lots of bragging rights as the season comes a go. Don't forget to follow us for more updates, and good luck with your tips this week.